Hi there, my name is Cole, and today we are building the Castrol Tom's Supra in LEGO. So I've just started working on this, and I'm like, you know what, I should film this. This would be much more interesting than just having the finished model and talking about it. So let's work on it. So as you can see here, I have this is Studio, by the way. It's free digital building software. I use it to design basically all of my models. I'll link to it down below if you'd like to try it yourself. Now, some of you who've watched my channel for an extremely long time will remember a very long time ago I built, I think it was 2021, I built this Supra. It was fine. And then in 2022, I think, I built this Supra, and this was pretty good. Now we're making, 2 years later now, we're making a new one. And so this one, so far, is heavily based off of the last one I showed you. Except that I have basically, this is basically all floating, all these parts are basically floating in space. I just been dragging the same parts around to get this to look how I want it to look. We have the Castrol livery somewhat mocked up in brick built form here. Brick built liveries, they can look a little bit choppy, this looks a bit choppy, but I think it'll look better in real life. This was the same case with when I did this McLaren F1 GTR, which actually that has some relation to this project, and the Garage 56 NASCAR Camaro and the F40 LM, where it's all like the liveries, they look much better in real life than they do digitally. Speaking of the F1 GTR, basically the F1 GTR in the Lark livery is one of my favorite cars of all time. I think it is my favorite car of all time. I have it in my phone case, and I have a model of it, as I mentioned earlier. I didn't realize that a big racing competitor of it was the Supra, and specifically the Tom's Castrol one. I always thought this was a cool car, and I saw some pictures of the two together. Like, these look really sick together. I want to build the Supra to go with the F1 GTR, and here we are. So that's kind of the inspiration for this project. Well, basically what I'm going to do now is attempt to connect all this stuff, because like none of it's connected, and then I will update you guys, and we'll see how it goes. But oh my gosh, I'm sorry guys, the lighting in this video is horrible. I'll see if I can fix it in post, or I'll put a bunch of B-roll over so you guys don't have to see this. Now the interior is basically done. I've installed not much of a seat, but there's a fire extinguisher, there's a roll cage, there's still more stuff to connect. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then I'll talk to you guys again. Alright, so I'm now going to attempt, well, we are now attempting to build the Supra. So we come down to the desk here. We have our little, well, prototype one. It's not, obviously it's not done. I just thought I would update you guys so you have some idea of how it goes together, or how it's going together. Obviously very wrong colors at this point, but we'll just build it in the closest possible colors and then just order the missing parts. And it's coming along quite nicely. I'm very happy it has bumpers going. It's a little bit complicated, but I think it's looking really good. Rear does not have much going on at this point, but I am excited because this model, the only model I've ever done that sits like super low, that's not like actually lowered, where the bodywork is so much lowered, it's right here, F50 GT, which I kind of want to do version 2 of actually, because this one, I think it's pretty good, but there's some stuff on the inside that's not so great. That's another story. You can see it sits super low, it does not drag against the ground. Most of my cars sit ever so slightly higher than that. Normal Speed Champion's height, same for these ones. But this thing has the bodywork hanging down super low, at least in the middle. Kind of the front studs here don't help. So it looks super race car, super low, and this will have the same thing going. And I'm very excited to see how it turns out. So you can see in the bumper right now is super low, you can't really see it anywhere else. And we have a little tiny bit of the interior coming together. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this, and I will update you guys as to how it goes. Alright, so a bunch of time has passed, and well, a bunch of progress has been made. It's starting to look more like a Supra now, although there's still plenty of janky colors on this thing, so gotta get some parts from Bricklink here. But I am very happy with how it's looking. Now you can see how low all the sides are in comparison to the rest of the chassis, and I'm really excited for how this is going to look. There are lots of different like elevation levels along this thing, lots of different weird heights and stuff. So I'm excited to see how this all comes together. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell how it's looking right now. There's so many random parts into this thing right now. So that's the update. I will see you guys in like 15 seconds. Alright, so I've finished up the model with some of the wrong colors, and it actually, I'm super happy with how it's looking. I think it looks really good, even though there's all sorts of missing parts and wacky colored parts. But I just got the parts in, so let's fix it. Let's make it look how it's supposed to look. The store I ordered parts from also had this guy, so you know. Alright, I'm gonna build this. You guys will see it and it'll look all cool in about 2 seconds. Alright, so here we are, the finished model, and it looks so good. I'm so happy with this one. I'm pretty happy with most models I build. But this one, I don't know why, it's so nice to look at, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. Now that we're in like the main part of the video, couple quick announcements. The Patreon is shut down temporarily. Thanks to everyone who did support me there. But for the time I was putting into it and the other projects, which I'll mention in a second, that I am taking on at the moment, it is not worth the effort. Those who were supporting were given an extra benefit for supporting when I canceled it, but massive thank you to those of you who did. Speaking of other projects I'm working on, we have another test shirt for what I'm calling MCGWERKS, although it probably won't be called that. This one is not working. The logo is way too far to that side, but it's still, I figured I'd wear it because it's a nice shirt. We're getting there, so keep your eyes open. They'll show up here, they'll show up on Instagram at some point, but I'm quite excited, and I think they will look really cool. If you saw the last video, then you saw the shirt with the F1 GTR. This one has the F50 GT on it, but you can't really see it that well. Back to the Supra. So like I said, this was based off of my version 2 Supra, my updated, well at the time updated Supra, that was still like 2 years ago. And there's not much left of it in there. There's still a bunch of the chassis and stuff, but we'll talk about the rest of the design here. So going over like the model choice itself, I'd been thinking a couple weeks back about trying to do more popular cars like I had done before, because before I did like the GTR and I did the Supra and I did the RX-7 and they all did super well, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should do I'm doing a ton of niche cars, maybe I should do more well-known cars, or more cars that are just popular on the internet. And I kind of tried that with the GTR. Admittedly, that was a very not normal GTR, it's bright yellow, and that did like about the same as a super niche car, although arguably that version of GTR is a super niche car. But I was like, okay, you know what, cancel the plan to make cars that are generally popular that I don't really care about that much. We're making super niche cars that I really care about. And so, not that I didn't care about the GTR. I did really like that yellow auto select when I built, and it's still on the shelf somewhere, I'm not sure where it went. Here we have a Supra, which is kind of ironic because that's a very, very much a well-known on the internet car, but I built this one because I thought it looks cool. And like I said, I wanted to go with my F1 GTR in our little JGTC. And after that, I was thinking it'd be cool to build a couple more JGTC cars. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments, because for once I will actually be probably looking at some of you guys' suggestions in the comments as much as I usually ignore them. I'm not sure if I would say this is a tip or a little thing to think about if you're making your own videos, models, whatever, that it's probably not a bad idea to do stuff that people will like be searching for and people will be like interested in. At the same time, don't go too heavy on that. Well, I guess it depends on your approach, because if you're trying to just go crazy for views and stuff, then that's probably not a bad idea. But if you're trying to be a little bit more specialized, trying to be a little bit more a certain taste, a certain range of interest, then just kind of do what you want to do, I feel like is kind of the way to go, and it's kind of the way I prefer. Anyway, that was interesting. I like to talk about stuff like that, and I worry it makes the video really boring because you guys didn't come here to hear me talk about videos, you came here to hear me talk about this, so let's talk about this. Now this model, especially compared to the other Supra versions, is a little bit finicky to put together because it's got so many different things going on. It actually has a lot of detail on it, I'm happy with, because my other Supra models they were okay for detail, but they're pretty old models as far as most of my models go, so they weren't like great, and so this one has a ton of detail to make up for that. So the sides are one of the most detailed parts, and there's basically like 3 kind of layers to them. We have this bottom side skirt, and as I mentioned, these are lower, these are half a plate lower than the rest of the chassis, and so they're almost on the ground, but they're not quite on the ground, which looks so sick, super race car-like. And then we have what is effectively the door. It doesn't open, but I'm going to call it the door, which is just some curved slopes which are on there. And then we have a little upper part of the door, I guess, and this is on a bracket to get it at the right height. This whole model, like I said, it's a bit finicky because there's a whole ton of weird offset building to get the sides and the front super low, but I think the end result is just super worth it. It looks so much cooler than a lot of my other models, and now I'm wondering if I should redo a couple of my other ones to get them like this. Now, like I said, not much of the original model I based this off of remains. The rear is almost entirely the same. There's a new wing and a new diffuser and exhaust. They look quite nice, even though they're very simple. One part that has been massively changed over the old model is the front, which, you know, looks somewhat similar, is completely different. The whole thing was torn apart digitally and put back together completely different and lower, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's a bunch of weird techniques building in all sorts of directions, building in almost every direction, I think. These weird techniques on the sides and stuff, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. It just looks so clean and so detailed. I feel like I'm hyping up my own model a lot, but honestly I don't get that excited about my own models that much, so I feel like it's okay. Going to the interior, there's basically no interior. I mean, there's detail, but it's not very good because of all the weird door assemblies and stuff and everything holding it in place. Although there is a roll cage you can see from the outside, and I'm so happy it has turned out because it has a little bit more detail and it looks so good. There's also a little fire extinguisher in there. Now, the livery is definitely not perfect. It's still a brick-built livery, but I think it's actually my best brick-built livery so far. I'm not sure if it's just because this only has 2 colors, or technically 3 colors in the livery, and so it's a little bit more straightforward to do, or what? Or maybe just getting good at them at this point, I don't know. But I just think maybe just these 3 colors work super nicely together, and so I just, again, super happy with how the livery turned out, and I think it looks really good. And if we put it next to the F1 GTR, which is kind of the reason I built it, it looks good. In fact, it makes the F1 GTR look kind of like it needs an update, which I don't really want to do because I got new stuff to build. I don't want to rebuild old stuff again, but maybe I'll give it a shot at some point here. And with that, that's basically it. As you guys have heard a lot, I am very happy with how it's turned out, and I hope you like it as well. Like I said, if you'd like to build it, the instructions are available at my website. We'll link to them down below. That is basically it for now, so I hope you enjoyed it. Jesus loves you, and I hope to see you in the next video. And perhaps it would be more appropriate to say I hope you watch the next video, but that sounds, I don't know, doesn't sound right, but oh well. I'll see you later then, I guess.